This mini lecture will focus on gathering support material for your speech. Now, support material is the evidence you use to support your speech goal. You can use support material from a variety of different sources, and all support material should be evaluated to make sure that it is credible and reliable. I should say that not all sources are created equal. So let's take a look at some different types of sources that you could use to support your speech. We live in an age where information is available with just a few words and clicks. Internet searches happen all the time through search engines like Google and Yahoo and Bing. There are certainly commercial websites like CNN, New York Times, Kellogg's. We have nonprofit organizations with websites, there are blog sites, there are personal websites. It can be a little overwhelming trying to determine the best information to use to support your speech. With a search engine, you can look at millions of pieces of information and send back sources that contain the words you command a search. So for example, if you are in Google and you are trying to develop a speech about symptoms of heart attacks, you could simply type in symptoms of heart attacks and you would find hundreds of different websites that would have information about that. And that may sound great, but then we need to look at how the information is obtained through a search engine and how we should evaluate that information. We want to look to see if the information is accurate. We'd like to know who is responsible for maintaining the information. Does the information seem to be impartial? And how current is the information? So let's imagine we are using a commercial website. These sites are created and maintained by for-profit businesses or organizations. Now, we could use these websites to locate information about a company, look at respected news organizations, we could find current or popular cultural material, and we could find presentation aids, which of course we would want to cite our source. Now, like anything in life, there are advantages and disadvantages. Some advantages is that the information is not in print, it's easily available. It may be more current, and for some people they may see it as more reliable, but you would want to certainly evaluate that. Disadvantages of commercial websites are that they can be biased. If I have Kellogg's and using Kellogg's website for something, of course they're going to be biased towards their product. So we would need to verify the information that we find on a commercial website with other information. And commercial websites also may not credit where they got their information from. Another source we may find using the internet are nonprofit organizations. These are sites for local, national, and international not-for-profit groups dedicated to issues or causes. For example, UNICEF, Special Olympics. Now, we could use these when we're trying to locate detailed information about a particular issue, and they are also helpful to locate emotional appeal examples, especially for persuasive speeches. But again, there are advantages and disadvantages. Now, for an advantage, they can provide some background information. They're usually considered to be fairly reliable, and they tend to use very clear language. However, the disadvantage is that they do have a set goal or agenda. They may not include credentials or where they got their information from, and they may accept paid ads, which could signal bias. Another source you may find using the internet are blogs. These are websites or pages that contain regular information by its author or authors, often in the form of a journal, and may allow visitors to comment. Now, some of you may think that blogs would not be a reliable source, and in and of itself, it is usually not considered to be a reliable source. But it can be used to find examples of public opinion or to find new developments about your topic. Can provide some current information, again can help gauge public opinion, but a disadvantage is that it is often very biased and you would want to verify any information you find on a blog with other sources. Now, some very important information you need to consider regarding internet sources is that for the purpose of this course, an internet source is considered to be any website ending with .com, .org, or .net. Websites with .edu or .gov will be considered non-internet sources. so that even though you find that information on the internet, the validity of that source is related to be somewhat higher. And of course, anything that is from a hack or other university or public library database is considered a non-internet source. Again, you may find the information on the internet, but it is not considered to be an internet source. Now we know that not all internet sources are created equal. You may not use sources from Wikipedia, any other wikis, tweets, most blogs, although I would suggest that you see me about this, and we don't want to use information from social media. Additionally, don't use sites such as eHow or ask.com or any site where content is posted by individuals who are paid or not paid to write an article to which they have limited knowledge or you cannot assess their knowledge. So what do? You need to get sources for your speech. You're only, maybe in the past, have done searches using a search engine from home. Well, the library is a wonderful place to visit. And one of the wonderful things about Hack is that you do not even physically need to go to the library in order to access the vast amount of information that they have available. You can email the staff at the library. You can set up an appointment online. There are many very smart people at the library who are willing to help you. So what can the library offer you? Well, of course, they have the catalog for items that are physically owned by the library. There are books, newspapers, magazines, journals, and of course the reference librarians. But something that the library has to offer are databases. There are a variety of different databases that the Hack Library maintains. Some that are particularly appropriate for this course are ProQuest, EBSCOhost, ERIC, and Issues and Controversies. If you look on the content page on our D2L class, you will find that there are links to Hack's library, and there are a variety of options you have to search for databases. So how do you research effectively? You know that you need to go do some research. I think many people think that you just find some information and you start typing, but sadly it does not work best that way. There are some steps that you can follow that will allow you to be a more successful researcher, and a more successful researcher creates a more successful speech. So the first thing you need to do is prepare. Think about the types of information that you will need to create a great speech. Think about where you can find that information. And you certainly want to block out enough time so that you can adequately gather information about your topic. You could, of course, consider visiting the library and speaking with a librarian. This could happen at the Hack Library or another public library that is close to where you live. And a suggestion that I'll make is to purchase some note cards, and you would be surprised by how much easier it is if you use these note cards to then separate the information that you find into the main points that you are trying to generate. Now, when we're doing research, we need to be ethical. The best way to avoid plagiarism is to write down all of your source information as you gather it. Now, there may be blatant plagiarism. You directly take another's work and call it your own. But what often happens is we see no citation plagiarism. You fail to give the source the appropriate credit. Some ways that you can become a more ethical researcher is to take thorough notes. Now again, some of you may think that taking notes is just a waste of time. I certainly deal with this with my son. So some simple suggestions. Again, using note cards. If you have note cards in front of you or a piece of paper in front of you, you can indicate the source where you're retrieving the information from. And if you're using note cards, you can then separate that information, kind of like a deck of cards, into your main points. You could also print your sources and highlight some important information that can be designed as individual main points. So what information do you need to gather? Well, you want to make sure that you write down the author or the editor, the title, date of publication, the publisher, the date of retrieval, web address, issues or volume numbers if you are using a periodical or a scholarly journal, and also what page number you found it on. Some of you may be familiar with using MLA citation. Some may be familiar with using APA citation. If you use electronic information from Hack's library database, there is a simple way to cite. There is a link directly on Hack's library page that will give you guidelines on how to cite using MLA and other acceptable forms of citation. And there is a link that is in the Week 4 module on D2L, creating the mini informative speech, and in the sub-module, gathering and evaluating support material. So I highly recommend that you use Hack's library to be able to gather information that is beyond just a quick Google search, and also to learn how to cite your information using MLA or another appropriate standard.